then later on, when the automation came in, and we did the 1958 extension with the General Electric Company engineer, Mr. Mason, and we extended the line to 1,000 lines, and from there on until when the digital exchange came in, so that's how this transformation came, because we should have gone on to the other system of automation, which was sustained by Dakar, but late we jumped all over those systems and went to digital system. So we were very lucky to have very advanced communication over the years.
When I read your autobiography, I came across a point wherein you traveled, you worked on board ships, and you are a radio officer there. Tell me your experiences as a radio officer on board the ships.
Yes, because what qualifies me to become a radio officer, because here it was all the local training, but I read with London School of Telegraphy at Barnard's Hearts, and obtained my RO, my Postmaster General certificate, and that entitled me to travel in the Atlantic Ocean. This was the reason why I was the only person here, apart from the other radio officers that were in Britain and others, entitled to travel on big ships, as radio officer close to the captain's office, and to feed the captains with all the data and information, piloting and all that, and so on and so on. So that was why in 1964 I took the Gambia Her Majesty's vessel to Spain on repairs on Blandi Balarero. And that makes me to reflect with some of my contemporaries in the same circles that are now gone, and only one or two are remembering, like Duda Adamanjai, like Lamin Toure, who was the electrical man on board. Adama was an engineer, and Asan Drame, who is now alive, Pickup and Kuka, all were on board the ships, in 1964 when we took the Gambian vessels to Spain. And in 1978 too, I was the radio officer and the technical officer on board the Mansakila Bar 3. We took the present Jawara to Guinea Conakry and Guinea-Bissau.
I would like to interrupt you here and read you a portion in your autobiography which says, "There again, Captain turns to me, asking me to contact by radio the Guinea-Conakry pilot to lead us in. I then opened my radio frequency, 500 megahertz, basically a pilot frequency, and after calling Mansakila Bar 3, the Gambia Presidential Youth Mansakila Bar 3, the Gambia Presidential Youth calling Guinea-Conakry. Pilot solemnly, the Conakry pilot appears on frequency on the voice, acknowledging my transmission. Captain then gave the position of the ship to relay. Then pilot adhered to captain orders. I carefully relayed it to the pilots who have acknowledged our position. Pick us up after 20 minutes, lead us into Conakry Gateway."
That was the period in which we traveled. That was our arrival to Guinea-Conakry, and I'm proud to say that on board the Mansakila 3, that boat was manned by all Gambians. We were captained by Captain Babukar Sala, one of our best Gambian captains. Although we had very much difficulties at the beginning of the voyage, because our boat does not have compass lock, whereby when the waves are swinging, the ship is swinging with it, and then it goes back to its original position. He had to keep on deep sounding navigation in order to control the boat all the way to Conakry. And that was when I started fishing for the Conakry pilot to lead us into the Conakry harbor. There again we were received by President Secretary, who lodged us in his palace for several days. That was a wonderful trip we have ever had. And he was so proud of the Gambians, that because from captain, first engineer, radio officer, and sailors were all Gambians. It was a very proud trip we had from there to Guinea-Conakry, where we were, no, from there to Guinea-Bissau, where when we were lodged by Louis Cabral. He was, then they had just got their independence.
Louis Cabral of PAIGC.
That's right.
Very well.
That's right. That was the return voyage that we were at.
What was specifically this trip about?
Oh, specifically this trip was, I think, for the President Jawara to bring together President Senghor and President Sekou Touré together, because there was a
friction between the two.
Exactly.
Now let me take you back to telecoms, because we will later on have to look at telecommunications yesterday and telecommunications today. Yeah. Inasmuch as it was in the, shall I say, the analog period at that time, now we're moving and we're thinking of moving gradually to the digital world. You had quite a satisfactory network at the time. It was something convenient to you and you were able to manipulate it.
Very convenient, because we have qualified people to manipulate the system, because it was the days of the Reuters news agency, and we were the only country in West Africa that was receiving Reuters at 35 watts a minute. 35 watts a minute. We were not using machines, but we were able to get Reuters and then pass it on to Pa Peters and Uncle Badulo to disseminate the information all over the Gambia.
Reuters is a news agency,
Reuters,
by the way.
Yeah.
Very well, very well. Yeah. And you received news from Reuters,
yes,
pass it to Badulo, who was responsible at Radio Gambia, and to Mr. Peters, who was a journalist, I suppose he was.
Exactly.
Very well, sir, very well. And the telephone, the actual calling people, 1,000 lines, was that concentrated in the urban area, or did we have telephones in the rural areas as well?
You see, the 1,000 line was also concentrated to the rural area, because then we had the VHF, very high frequency, was coming in, and then we did the survey for 2 years, we did the installation, and we managed for over 30 years in the province, because then I think most of these, we have subscribers in the province. We have subscribers in Georgetown. Kuntawur was a headquarters, Georgetown, Bansang, Basse, Mansekonko, and all those areas had subscribers. Then the lines were extending. We started running overhead lines, all over the country and so on. So they were able to feed on that limited lines we had at that time. Yes, Peter.
Let me call the names of two people and see how you got along with those people. Bakari Njai, he was managing director of Gamtel. I'm sure before you retired, you must have worked very closely with him. The other person I wanted to quote his name is Yankuba Toure. He was at one time a radio engineer at Radio Gambia. Later on, he was actually deputy permanent secretary here at the Ministry of Communication Infrastructure. Now he's at Pura on consultancy there. I was told that when you went to, what was the school again? In fact, GTT, I came off that school though.
Oh, that's the vocational
training center. I was told that it was Sewu Sabali who was the only one who failed your exams. And Seal Johnson was there as well. Seal Johnson.
Yeah, Seal just came later on.
Very well, very well. But is it true that Sewu Sabali was the only one who failed your exams?
Well, in fact, I cannot ascertain that, because Bakari Njai was in charge of that school.
Very well.
And you are bringing me back to 1964, when Bakari came to telecoms as a trainee, and they all work under my workshop, Sekou Sabali and Yankuba and all these boys, Malik Njok at the airport, and most of these boys.
That's Malik Cham.
Malik Cham, yes, Malik Cham. And I am glad, I'm very proud of them. Sometimes when they see me in the mosque, they take $100 and put it in my pocket,
They should put more than that.
I've gone well with them.
Very well, sir, very well, very well.
Yes, Bakari came there, and he used to be a great admirer of me, because in those days, that was the days we sailed to Spain, and he used to listen my radio signals with the Europeans, because then they were on the other end in Banjul when I was on board the ship.